Hi, welcome back to the second part of our video, which is about the graphs of circular functions. So we are now in our fourth week in the second quarter. So let us continue our discussion with the examples on how to graph different functions of the sine and cosine. So we are now in number 2, sketch the graph of y is equal to sine times the quantity of x minus pi over 3. So by looking at the equation, makita nato nga lahi siya dito sa atong previous example. Naanata karoy C, which is the shift in the domain. No? So nanatay shift in the domain. So we can identify our A as 1 and our B as 1. No? Kaya as you can see, wala siya diri. So we all know nga it means nana siya value nga 1. So we'll proceed now to our first step. Identify the amplitude. So obviously it's 1. And our period, it is 2 pi. So get the range, and our range is just from -1 to 1. And our interval now is supposed to be 0 to 2 pi. But since naa naman tay natay horizontal shift, so ni-shift na siya, instead nga 0, ni-shift siya into pi over 3. So similar with 2 pi, ato po siyang adan og pi over 3, kay ni-shift man po siya dito sa pi over 3. So ang ato karong interval will be pi over 3 going to 7 pi over 3. So therefore, this interval, makabuo na ta og one complete cycle of this graph. So now that we have the interval, let's proceed to our second step, which is to divide the interval into 4 equal parts. So muna itong ka-time nga mag-identify na po ta og 5 ka division points. So we will use again the concept of the midpoint. So, ako na ni siyang gipakita ganina. So, I think it will be easier now. So, ang una itong makita ani is ang x sub 3 at ulang i-add si x sub 1 o si x sub 5. So, we obtain this answer, which is 4 pi over 3. Next, we are going to find x sub 2, which is midpoint na siya ni x sub 1 o x sub 3. So, i-add lang nato si x sub 1 o si x sub 3. I-divide na po nato siya 2 since midpoint man. So, we obtain 5 pi over 6. And so the same process applies to x sub 4, and we have 11 pi over 6. So now that nanatay division points, pwede na tayo proceed to the third step, which is to evaluate the function. So in here, ako na lang gi-present diretso ang table. Wala na nako gi-show ang solution, but if you wanna know the solution, just simply substitute the values of x in here. Sabihin mo siyang sine. Okay, pila man ang atong x? If our x is pi over 3 minus pi over 3, so may mo siyang 0. So sine 0 is just equal to 0. Next, if we are going to substitute 5 pi over 6 minus pi over 3, so ang result is pi over 2. So the sine of pi over 2 is just 1. And so on. So, pwede rin yun ma-check ang mga value in the unit circle. If malibog paghihapon mo, so ang pagkuha sa mga sine of any angle, so you may check the unit circle. So, now that we obtained the value of the function, we can now proceed to our last step, which is to plot the points and then graph. So, we have the Cartesian plane. Actually, pwede na to siya if you are questioning kung mangutan na mo nganong nabutang na to siya in any, because we divided this into 4 equal parts, so they have the same space in here. No, gestion na nato na siya nga mo na siya ang iyahang position. So our range is from 1, -1. So this is our positive 1, this is our -1. Let us start plotting the points. So ang difference karon is dili ta magsugod diri sa center of the origin, no? Because our x started from pi over 3. So dili ta magsugod. So if our x is pi over 3, our value of the function is 0. If it is 5 pi over 6, ang atong function is equal to 1, 0, -1, and 0. So let us join them using the smooth curve. So, see, kani siya nga line, kani broken din ang ipakita, mo ni siya ang katong graph ni siya ni y is equal to sine x. Sine x. So, kung ato siyang i-compare sa graph ni y is equal to sine times the quantity of x minus 3, as you can see, ni-move lang siya og pi over 3 units. So, muna siya pasabot nato sa horizontal shift, no? Ni iswag lang siya og pi over 3 units away from the origin. So, muna siya pasabot sa atong horizontal shift. So, now that we are talking about shift, in the next example, we will be showing you the vertical shift at the horizontal shift. So, let's proceed. So, in this example, we are going to sketch the graph of y is equal to negative 2 cosine 2 times the quantity of x minus pi over 6 minus 3. Okay. Kahangat ba? So, do not panic kay similar gyud siya og process as the previous example. So, all you have to do is to properly identify the variables. So, we have our negative 2. This is our a. 2 is our b. Pi over 6 is our c. And our d is negative 3. Okay. So, kompleto na ang atong variables. Next, we are going to go with the same process, no? Gihapon. So, step 1, atong identify ang amplitude. So, ang amplitude niya is 2. So, inikuha na to sa range, i-plus, minus lang na to ang iyahang d. If you can remember, this is our d. Negative 3 ang atong d. So, muna siyang negative 2 plus minus negative 3. So, we obtain the range which is negative 1 until negative 5. Ang pasabot ng aning d is, meaning atong graph is, ni-move siya 3 units down. Down kay negative man siya. Muna yung timailhan, no? Vertical shift man na siya. You will understand this one sa ato anang pag-graph. So, our period is pi. Okay, so the same process gihapon. So, it should be 0 to pi. Okay, naatay error diri gamay. So, this is pi. So, our new interval will become pi over 6 and 7 pi over 6. So, this will be divided again into different parts. So, mangita na po taog 5 division points by using the same method as discussed in other examples. So, our x of 1 is pi over 6. Our x of 5 is 7 pi over 6. So, we will first find the midpoint, or the x of 3, 2 pi over 3. And then, x of 2 na pod, by adding these 2, so we obtain 5 pi over 12. And our x of 4, we add x of 3 and x of 5 divided by 2, so we obtain 11 pi over 6. So, now that we obtained the division points, we can now proceed to evaluating the function. So, the same ra gihapon, wala na ako gipakita sa inyo, but I hope that you will find time to check if this is correct. So, just simply substitute the value of x to the equation. So, pi over 6 minus pi over 6 is 0. So, cosine 0 times 2 times 0, that will be 0. So, cosine 0, that is equal to, pila man ang cosine 0? Cosine 0 is equal to 1, no? So, 1 times negative 2, that is negative 2. Minus 3, muna siya nahimo siyang negative 5. Okay. Murag, I think I need to write that one. Murag, need na ko siya i-explain. So, y is equal to negative 2 cosine. Complicated man gud siya, no? Kaya daghan kita awon nun ani niya. So, if this is pi over 6, pangit ako agi oy. Minus 11 pi over 6. What ang pangit nito? Okay, minus 3. So, we have negative 2 cosine. So, we will start first diring apart. So, pi over 6 minus pi over 6 is 0. So, after that, i-times nato siya sa 2. So, that will be 0. So, cosine 0 minus 3. So, next is, ato sa siyang pangitaon ang value. Ani, dili ta pwede maka-minus ha. Basig mag-0 minus 3 mo dira, dili na siya pwede. So, pangitaon sa nato ang value ni cosine 0. And the value of cosine 0 is 1, no? I-check niyo sa unit circle if dili pa mo familiarize. So, this is 1. So, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 3, and that is equal to negative 5. So, the same process ang ma-apply ninyo dinhi sa atong ubang value. So, kamo na lang mag-check ana. So now that we obtain the values, we can now plot the points. So this is our graph. So naat diri ato ang values ni x, pi over 6, 5 pi over 12, 2 pi over 3, 11 pi over 12, 7 pi over 6. So we will start if ang atong x is pi over 6, ang atong y is naa siya sa negative 5. So i-assume nato ni siya nga mo ni siya sa negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. So ang atong negative 5, so naa diri. Sunod, kung 5 pi over 12, negative 3 siya. So here, sunod, negative 1 siya. Sunod, negative 3. And sunod, negative 5. So, we will join them with our curve na dayon. So, if manotice din yun, nilapas lang siya gamay, pero it's just the same. So, our graph of the function is this one. Y is equal to negative 2 cosine 2. So, quantity of x minus pi over 6 minus 3. So, mo ni iyahang graph. So, kung auto siyang tan-awon, no? Kung wala na siya yung minus 3, malamang ang kanyang atong graph is within this one. Na siya diri sa ato ang x-axis nagkuan tunga, no? Kung wala lang siya nag-divide. Kung wala lang ni siya na shift vertically. So, kani siyang nag-shift vertically sa either down or up. So, kung negative ni diri, down po siya. Munang na siya sa ubos. Pero kung plus ni siya diri, dito po siya sa taas po siya. So, it's either in the first quadrant or the second quadrant. So, I hope that you gained insights on how to graph the different equations of circular functions. So, ang kaning akong discuss is about sine and cosine only. So, there will be a discussion about the graphing of its inverses, which is the cosecant and secant. But take note nga maglisod mo og graph sa cosecant o sa secant if dili mo master unsaon pa graph ang sine ug cosine nga function, because they are just really related. Sa yun lang ang pag-graph ninyo sa secant o sa cosecant if na-master na ninyo ang kaning unsaon pa graph si cosine o si sine. So, we will discuss that one on the next lesson. So, next week, I will upload another video discussing those topics.